From the outside, life often appears to be a series of random events. Good luck, bad timing, sudden breakthroughs, unexpected failures. We grow up thinking that success is about trying harder, being smarter, or simply being in the right place at the right time. But Owen Hermstring, in The Law Behind the Laws, exposes this idea as a dangerous illusion. He argues that what we call random is simply a reflection of hidden energetic laws operating beneath our awareness. And the first of these is what he calls the law of identity projection. According to Hermstring, the universe is not reacting to what you want, but to what you are. That is, your energetic frequency, your thoughts, beliefs, emotional patterns, and subconscious identity is constantly broadcasting a signal. This signal doesn't ask, it commands. You may say you want love, wealth, or freedom, but if the core of your identity is built around fear, lack, or unworthiness, then the universe will reflect those exact frequencies right back to you. Not because it's punishing you, but because that's the law. You cannot emit one thing and expect to receive another. This principle explains why so many people feel stuck. They read books, attend workshops, set intentions, and visualize outcomes, but their results stay the same. It's not because they're lazy or unlucky. It's because they're using surface-level tools while the root signal remains unchanged. Hermstring writes, "You do not attract what you fantasize about. You attract what your core identity declares as real." Let's pause here because this truth cuts deep. If your reality is chaotic, stagnant, or painful, it is not a judgment against you. It is a mirror of your internal code. You've been broadcasting this frequency for years, maybe decades, and like a magnet, it has faithfully attracted every person, opportunity, and outcome that matches it. To change your results, you must change the code. But here's where most people get it wrong. They try to change their thoughts without changing their identity. They repeat affirmations that their subconscious does not believe. They visualize goals that their nervous system still fears. They try to manifest from a state of energetic contradiction, and then they blame the universe when it doesn't work. But Hermstring is clear. The universe cannot override your energetic integrity. It does not speak English. It speaks energy. So how does one begin to rewrite the code? The first step is brutal honesty. You must stop pretending that your external results are disconnected from your internal state. Instead, become radically curious. What beliefs am I carrying that create this outcome? What emotions am I addicted to that keep this pattern alive? What identity am I projecting that silently instructs the universe on how to treat me? This is not about blame. It's about power. As Hermstring says, you are the author of the energetic script that life is reading from. If you don't like the story, rewrite the frequency. Once you accept this, you stop chasing random solutions. You stop obsessing over strategies, timing, or validation from others. Instead, you turn inward. You start decoding your current reality as a message. Every delay, every betrayal, every breakthrough, each one is a signal, an echo of your frequency. And once you learn to read the pattern, you can change it. Hermstring gives a powerful example in the book. A woman who constantly attracted emotionally unavailable partners. She thought she had bad luck in love. But through deep identity work, she discovered that her core belief was, "I am invisible." This belief had been formed in childhood when she was overlooked and ignored. It didn't matter how much she wanted connection, her energetic identity kept choosing partners who confirmed her invisibility. The universe wasn't being cruel, it was being obedient. When she shifted that belief to, "I am seen and valued," everything changed. Not just her relationships, but her career, her self-worth, her health. Because that's the secret Hermstring reveals. There is no area of life that is immune to your frequency. The law applies to all. You are not a victim of random fate. You are a generator of patterns. The sooner you understand this, the sooner you can stop reacting to life and start designing it. So the next time you feel like nothing is working, pause. Ask yourself, what part of me is creating this? What hidden frequency is shaping this moment? That question alone will begin to break the illusion of randomness and awaken your power. Because as Owen Hermstring reminds us, the universe is not ignoring you. It is responding to the version of you that you're broadcasting, whether you know it or not. Most people assume that their limitations are circumstantial, external barriers that block them from achieving what they desire. But Owen Hermstring dismantles this belief by exposing a far more subtle and powerful mechanism. The identity frequency lock. According to Hermstring in The Law Behind the Laws, your subconscious identity is not just an internal narrative. It is a vibrational code, and it acts like a lock that filters what the universe can and cannot deliver to you. Let's break that down. Imagine that your life is a massive vault of infinite potential. Every opportunity, relationship, idea, and breakthrough you could ever dream of already exists in energetic form. But to access it, you need a matching frequency. If your identity does not align with the vibration of that potential, it remains locked, no matter how badly you want it. Hermstring writes, "Desire alone does not unlock the vault. Only identity can turn the key." This is where most people get frustrated. They desire abundance, but identify as someone who always struggles. They desire respect, but carry shame. They desire love, but believe they are unworthy. The identity they broadcast sends a signal that directly contradicts their desire. And the universe, which only responds to energetic integrity, must obey the identity, not the wish. This is what Hermstring means when he says, "You are not stuck because you want the wrong things. You're stuck because you're broadcasting the wrong frequency." Let's make it practical. Imagine a man who wants to build a successful business. He reads books, watches videos, builds a website, and even starts working with clients. But deep in his subconscious, he carries the belief, people like me don't succeed. I'm not charismatic. I'm not lucky. These beliefs, though unspoken, shape his energy. They affect how he shows up in meetings, how confidently he prices his work, how boldly he promotes himself. Subtly but surely, his identity leaks through. And because the universe reads that frequency, it returns experiences that confirm it. Missed opportunities, flaky clients, overwhelming self-doubt. Until he changes that subconscious identity, he will remain locked out of the version of life he's trying to create. This is the frequency lock. And it's not a punishment, it's a mirror. Hermstring emphasizes that your subconscious isn't evil or broken, it's just a loyal servant. It is protecting the identity you gave it. If you've told it, through years of experiences, emotions, and patterns, that you are someone who is not seen, not worthy, not powerful, then it will continue to project that identity onto the screen of your life. Not because it wants to hurt you, but because it thinks that's what keeps you safe. In the book, Hermstring shares a striking passage. Your subconscious does not care about your goals. It only cares about your survival. And it confuses the familiar with the safe. This means that if you've spent years living in scarcity, your subconscious begins to identify that as normal. Even if scarcity is painful, it feels familiar. So when you try to reach for abundance, your system triggers alarm bells. You sabotage, delay, or shrink, not because you're weak, but because your identity doesn't yet accept that new frequency as safe. So how do you unlock the vault? Hermstring teaches a process he calls frequency recoding. It begins with awareness. You must observe the emotions that show up when you imagine your goal. Do you feel fear, resistance, guilt? These are clues. They reveal the identity that's been encoded beneath the surface. From there, you can begin to question that identity, interrupt its patterns, and install new beliefs, not just intellectually but emotionally. Because as Hermstring insists, belief is not what you think. Belief is what your nervous system accepts as normal. That's why repetition alone doesn't work. You can say, "I am wealthy" 100 times a day, but if your nervous system still reacts with anxiety, disbelief, or discomfort, then you haven't recoded your frequency yet. To change your life, you must rewire what your body believes is true about you. You must teach your subconscious that it is safe to be seen, to be supported, to receive more. You must show it, through emotion, repetition, and aligned action, that your new identity is not just a fantasy, but a home you now live in. And the moment that happens, the lock begins to loosen. The opportunities that once felt out of reach begin to find you. Not because the universe changed, but because you finally aligned with what was always waiting. The universe does not need more from you. It needs a clearer signal. And that signal begins with who you believe you are, beneath the surface, beneath the words, beneath the mask. Because as Hermstring reminds us, the law does not bend for desire, it bends for identity. Emotions are often misunderstood. Most people treat them like background noise, something to manage, suppress, or ignore while they go about their lives. But in The Law Behind the Laws, Owen Hermstring offers a radically different perspective. Your emotions are messengers. They are not random. They are encoded signals from your subconscious, revealing the alignment or misalignment between your current identity and the reality you're trying to create. Hermstring writes, "Emotion is not just energy in motion. It is your inner compass. It shows you where you're broadcasting from." What does that mean? Let's say you want to attract a healthier relationship, a better job, or financial abundance. You affirm it daily. You visualize it. But deep down, every time you think about that goal, a sinking feeling creeps in. Anxiety, doubt, sadness, even frustration. Most people try to override these feelings with positive thinking. But Hermstring says that's a mistake. These emotions are not obstacles, they're indicators. They tell you where your signal is truly set. Your dominant emotional state is your broadcast frequency. And the universe responds not to your surface thoughts, but to your deepest frequency. So if you're saying, "I want success," but you're feeling shame, guilt, or fear, then your true request is being made through your emotional energy, not your words. This is why Hermstring states, your life is not shaped by what you ask for. It is shaped by what you feel while you're asking. Let's look at a real-life example. Imagine a woman who constantly feels overwhelmed by money. She tries budgeting, affirmations, even vision boards, but her dominant emotional state around money is anxiety. Every time she checks her bank account, she tightens up. Every time a bill arrives, she panics. That emotional energy is more powerful than her conscious intentions. The universe interprets her emotional frequency as, "Money is a threat. Money creates fear," or "I am unsafe when I think about money." And it responds in kind through delays, unexpected expenses, and missed opportunities. Not because she's being punished, but because her emotional signal is out of alignment with abundance. Hermstring emphasizes this point. The law is blind to your words. It listens only to your resonance. This is why emotional honesty is so critical. You cannot lie to the universe, you can only align. So, how do you begin decoding your emotions? The first step is to pause and feel without judgment. When a negative emotion arises, anger, sadness, jealousy, don't suppress it. Don't immediately try to fix it. Instead, ask yourself, what is this emotion trying to tell me about what I believe right now? Maybe your anger reveals a belief that you've been overlooked. Maybe your jealousy shows you a hidden desire you've been taught to feel shame about. Maybe your sadness signals a deeper wound, one that still defines your sense of worth. These emotions aren't the enemy. They're the entry point. Hermstring writes, "Your emotions are not in the way. They are the way." When you begin listening to your emotional energy instead of resisting it, you unlock a new level of self-awareness. You stop projecting blame outward and start taking radical responsibility for the inner signals you're broadcasting. This process is not about staying in a high-vibe state 24/7. That's spiritual bypassing. The truth is, transformation often begins in the darkness, in the uncomfortable moments where you face the parts of yourself you've ignored. Hermstring calls this emotional alchemy, the process of transmuting suppressed energy into aligned frequency. Here's how he outlines the process. Feel. Without trying to change the emotion, just let it rise. Name. Identify what the emotion is and where in your body you feel it. Decode. Ask what belief or story the emotion is connected to. Recode. Choose a new belief that aligns with the reality you desire. Embody. Practice feeling this new belief emotionally until it becomes your new baseline. This is not a one-time fix. It's a daily practice. But as you begin to shift your dominant emotional state, something powerful happens. Your outer world starts reflecting your inner transformation. Relationships shift. Money flows differently. People respond to you in new ways, not because the universe changed, but because you did. You tuned into a new frequency, not through forced thoughts, but through authentic emotional energy. And here lies one of Hermstring's most profound teachings. Emotion is your conversation with the field. Learn the language, and nothing remains hidden from you. If you want to know what you're really attracting, don't look at your goals. Look at your emotional baseline. That's the true signal. That's what the universe has been responding to all along. And the good news? You have the power to change that signal, not by pretending, but by listening, by feeling, by aligning, because once your emotions speak the same language as your desires, the universe has no choice but to answer. There's a moment in every person's journey when things feel like they're falling apart. You set an intention, you feel inspired, you decide to finally act, and then everything seems to resist you. Delays, rejections, self-doubt. Old fears coming back stronger than ever. Most people interpret this as failure, as proof that they're not ready, not worthy, or not meant for what they want. But in The Law Behind the Laws, Owen Hermstring challenges that view. He says the moment of greatest resistance is not a warning, it's a signpost. Not an obstacle, but a signal. Resistance, he writes, is the universe's way of flushing out the parts of you that cannot hold the reality you asked for. That line turns everything upside down. According to Hermstring, when you decide to reprogram your subconscious and elevate your identity, you activate a process that is both creative and purifying. It's not just about attracting a new outcome. It's about becoming the person who can sustain it. And that shift will inevitably expose everything within you that contradicts your new reality. In other words, you're not failing. You're shedding. Let's say you've been living from a mindset of scarcity for most of your life. You grew up hearing that money is dangerous, that wealthy people are selfish, and that comfort is a luxury for others, not for you. Now, as an adult, you start to reprogram your beliefs. You decide to create abundance, you visualize wealth, you affirm your worth, you act differently. And suddenly, everything breaks. Unexpected bills, people ghosting you, shame bubbling to the surface. This is not coincidence. This is the law of internal exposure that Hermstring speaks of. He explains, every time you raise your frequency, you initiate a purge. What is false will fight to survive, and that fight will feel like resistance. So how should we interpret resistance? First, we must stop seeing it as punishment or failure. Resistance is a mirror. It shows us what's still active in our subconscious programming, the painful emotions, the beliefs we absorbed in childhood, the silent vows we made after trauma. All of it gets stirred up when we challenge our current identity. The universe is not attacking us, it's revealing us. And here's the hidden gift. Resistance is diagnostic. It points exactly to what still needs healing, reprogramming, or release. Instead of avoiding it, Hermstring encourages us to welcome it, sit with it, study it. What you resist, he writes, persists, not because it is powerful, but because it is misunderstood. One of the most enlightening metaphors Hermstring offers is the idea of resistance as a gatekeeper. Imagine your next level, the version of you who has the love, health, freedom, or abundance you seek, is protected by an energetic gate. Resistance stands at that gate, not to block you, but to make sure you're ready. And readiness is not about perfection, it's about coherence. Are your thoughts, emotions, and actions aligned with what you want to receive? Or are you still divided within? That's what resistance reveals. When you feel stuck, unworthy, or sabotaged, Hermstring suggests asking a powerful question. What belief is trying to leave me right now? Because most of the time, it's not the dream that's too big, it's the old self that's too small. This is why many people feel a heaviness when they try to step into something new. It's the weight of unresolved stories. It's the subconscious screaming, "This isn't safe," because it equates change with danger. That's not irrational, it's conditioning. And the only way to dissolve it is to move through it consciously. Hermstring encourages what he calls alignment through friction. That means instead of bypassing resistance, you engage it with awareness. You see it not as opposition, but as feedback. You allow it to reveal what still needs integration. Here's how to practice this. Recognize resistance early. Pay attention to the tightness, procrastination, or emotional overwhelm that shows up when you try to take action toward your goal. Listen without judgment. Ask yourself what part of you is afraid, what belief is being challenged, what memory is being activated. Dialogue with the resistance. Treat it like a part of you that needs reassurance, not rejection. What does it need to feel safe? Recommit from a higher identity. Once the fear is seen and soothed, reconnect to your intention, not as someone trying to escape fear, but as someone embodying truth. The moment you do this, resistance shifts. It no longer fights you. It starts to guide you. That's the paradox. The resistance you fear becomes the wisdom you need. In Hermstring's words, when you stop fearing the signal, the system recalibrates. So the next time you feel everything pushing back, remember, you're not cursed. You're being called to release, to recalibrate, and to realign with the version of you who can receive, not in theory, but in truth. Not someday, but now. Because the universe doesn't test your worth, it tests your coherence. And once you pass that inner threshold, once your thoughts, feelings, and energy speak the same language, resistance fades, and reality flows. Everyone wants change. Everyone wants more. More peace, more freedom, more wealth, more love. But few are willing to become the version of themselves that naturally lives inside that reality. Why? Because deep down, they fear that identity. They judge it. They resist it. And this is what Owen Hermstring calls the identity paradox. At the surface level, a person might say, I want to be rich, or I want to be powerful, or I want to be free. But beneath that conscious desire, the subconscious might be holding tightly onto old meanings. Rich people are selfish. Powerful people lose love. Freedom means isolation. These are not just ideas, they're identity anchors. And as Hermstring emphasizes, you cannot magnetize what you morally, emotionally, or subconsciously resist becoming. This is where most manifestation efforts fail, not because the person isn't working hard or visualizing enough, but because they are trying to create a result while rejecting the identity required to sustain it. In The Law Behind the Laws, Hermstring writes, you are not denied by the universe, you are denied by the version of yourself you refuse to embody. Let that sink in. Desire is not enough. Frequency is not enough. You must become the container that can hold the new experience. If you want to live in abundance, you cannot still identify as a victim of scarcity. If you want to experience deep love, you cannot still carry shame around being seen. If you want influence, but fear visibility, your own identity will cancel out your actions. That's the paradox. Your subconscious resists giving you what you say you want, because it's trying to protect you. Let's take a common example, the desire to be financially free. Someone begins affirmations. They journal, they visualize, they take action, but nothing shifts. Why? Because underneath it all, they still hold guilt around wanting money. Maybe they were raised in a home where struggle was noble. Maybe their parents mocked the wealthy. Maybe they associate money with loneliness or betrayal. So even as they take external steps forward, their internal wiring is broadcasting, this is unsafe. Hermstring explains this using what he calls the identity value loop. Every identity we carry is linked to a set of values, what we believe is good, bad, safe, dangerous, worthy, or shameful. And the subconscious mind is loyal to those values, even when they contradict our goals. The universe won't bypass your identity to give you what you ask for, he writes. It will wait for you to match what you desire in essence and energy. This is why some people can't hold on to success even when they reach it. Because at a deeper level, they don't believe they deserve it, or worse, they fear what they think it will turn them into. And so they self-sabotage, quietly, subtly, logically. They miss the meeting, they delay the call, they spend too fast, they hide their work. All while convincing themselves, I'm just not lucky. But luck has nothing to do with it. They are simply not yet in identity alignment. Hermstring offers a radical but freeing insight. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you're willing to be. This means transformation is less about chasing goals and more about healing the parts of you that are still resisting that next version. Ask yourself, who do I think I have to betray to become successful? What old version of me am I afraid of losing? What identity am I secretly defending, even as I say, I want to change? These are uncomfortable questions, but they're powerful keys. Hermstring insists that conscious change cannot override subconscious rejection. Until you release the hidden shame, judgment, or fear around the identity you're stepping into, you will stay locked in place, no matter how much effort you apply. So how do you shift? You recode your identity. You begin by becoming emotionally safe with the version of you who already lives in the reality you desire. You stop treating her as other. You stop treating him as someone you have to earn the right to become. You sit with that future version. You listen to them. You let them teach you. You practice emotional fusion, not just imagining what they do, but how they think, walk, breathe, choose. You become before you receive, and that changes everything, because once the subconscious is no longer resisting who you're becoming, your energy stabilizes, your actions become magnetic, your voice gains authority, your presence begins to shift the room. Not because you're trying, but because you've integrated. The bridge between asking and receiving, Hermstring says, is identity. It's not about hustling harder, it's about healing deeper. So the next time you feel blocked, ask yourself not, what do I want, but who do I still fear becoming? Because when you love that version of yourself, when you stop resisting who you're meant to be, the universe no longer waits. It responds. There's a moment in everyone's life when they look around and ask, why is this happening to me? It's a common question, usually asked in frustration, pain, or deep confusion. But according to Owen Hermstring, this question, though understandable, is based on a flawed premise. Life isn't happening to you, it's happening through you. And more accurately, it's happening as you. This is what Hermstring refers to as the mirror effect. The principle is deceptively simple. Your external world is a direct reflection of your internal state. Not sometimes, not occasionally, but always. Life doesn't lie to you. It doesn't make mistakes. It reflects what you believe, what you expect, and what you embody. Down to the smallest details. This can be a deeply confronting idea, especially when we look at parts of our life we don't like. A toxic relationship, constant financial struggle, a sense of being invisible, unheard, or stuck. But Hermstring doesn't present this idea to shame or blame. On the contrary, he offers it as a profound key to personal freedom. If you want to know what's in your subconscious, he writes in The Law Behind the Laws, don't look inside your mind, look at your life. It's all there. This realization can either make you defensive or empowered. The difference is in how willing you are to take radical ownership. The mirror effect says, your life is always telling the truth. Not about what you want, but about what you currently believe. Your circumstances are feedback, not punishment. They are the universe's way of saying, this is the signal you're emitting. Do you want to change it? Let's break this down with a few common reflections. Financial scarcity. If money constantly slips through your fingers, it may reflect beliefs like, I never have enough, or wealth is for other people, or I'm bad with money. Even if you're working hard, the dominant frequency is fear, lack, or unworthiness, and that's what the mirror reflects. Toxic relationships. If you continually attract disrespectful or emotionally unavailable partners, life may be mirroring your inner lack of boundaries, your fear of abandonment, or a belief that love must be earned. The people in your life are echoing what your inner world already believes you deserve. Stagnation or invisibility. If you feel unseen, overlooked, or stuck, it's not because the world is ignoring you. The mirror says, you may be hiding from yourself, doubting your worth, or clinging to safety over growth. The outer world is matching your hesitation. Hermstring's message is not about guilt, it's about power, because the mirror doesn't just reflect pain, it reflects healing too, growth, courage, expansion. Once you begin to shift your internal state, your beliefs, your identity, your emotions, your external world has to shift. It has no choice. The mirror cannot resist your evolution. This is why so many people experience quantum leaps after internal transformation. Once the signal changes, the reflection does too. But here's the mistake many make. They try to change the mirror instead of the face it's reflecting. They chase new jobs, new relationships, new locations, hoping that external shifts will override internal stagnation. But the mirror doesn't lie. You can't fool it. You can't bribe it. It will follow your inner state wherever you go. The mirror is neutral, Hermstring writes. It's not your enemy. It's your teacher. In fact, the parts of your life that frustrate you the most may be the most valuable mirrors of all. Why? Because they show you what's still unhealed, what's still fragmented, what's still misaligned with your higher self. But seeing the reflection isn't enough. You must act on it. You must use it. This is where most people give up. They say, I don't like what I see, and they look away. Or worse, they blame the mirror. But the only way out is through honesty, through healing, through alignment. So how do you begin? You start by asking the right question. Not why is this happening to me, but what is this showing me about me? If your life is a mirror, what is it reflecting today? Fear or faith? Scarcity or trust? Judgment or compassion? Control or surrender? You don't need to fix everything at once. You only need to notice what the mirror is showing you and shift the reflection at the source. Hermstring emphasizes a beautiful truth. The mirror doesn't punish, it waits. It waits for you to recognize your power. It waits for you to release what no longer serves you. It waits for you to embody what you say you want, so it can reflect it back without resistance. The moment you do, the reflection changes. So instead of cursing the mirror, start blessing it. Use it. Let it show you what's true. Not so you can collapse into shame, but so you can rise into sovereignty. Because life isn't your enemy, it's your echo. And once you understand that, you no longer fear your reality. You co-create it. And when you do that consciously, everything begins to change. There's a belief deeply rooted in the modern psyche that action is everything. Hustle harder, grind longer, show up, execute, repeat. In many ways, this mindset has been praised, rewarded, even romanticized. But according to Owen Hermstring, this relentless focus on action can become a trap if it lacks one critical element: alignment. In The Law Behind the Laws, Hermstring lays out a challenging but liberating truth. Most people are not failing because they don't act. They're failing because their actions are out of sync with their identity. This statement is like a lightning bolt to the conventional idea of success. It confronts the belief that effort alone guarantees results. Because in the universal system, Hermstring describes, energy precedes execution. The who always comes before the what. You can take all the right steps in your career, your relationships, your personal growth, but if your internal programming doesn't match the outcome you're chasing, your actions will generate noise, not momentum. You'll be moving, but not progressing, striving, but not aligning. You'll be stuck in a loop of effort without elevation. Hermstring calls this the illusion of movement. It looks productive from the outside, but internally, it's chaos, because the subconscious hasn't agreed. The frequency is fractured. You're broadcasting a signal of self-doubt while trying to manifest confidence. You're chasing abundance while emotionally anchored in lack. You're talking about worthiness while feeling invisible inside. This dissonance creates delay, not because the universe is cruel, but because it's obedient. It mirrors the dominant signal, not the surface intention. The solution isn't to act more, it's to align deeper. Alignment means your thoughts, beliefs, emotions, and actions are all moving in the same direction. It means you don't just say you're abundant. You feel it, you see it, and you act from it. Even if the money hasn't arrived yet. You don't just act like you're worthy. You embody it even if no one else has validated it yet. You don't just hustle for success. You become someone who receives it naturally because your identity no longer resists it. Hermstring gives the example of a man trying to attract love. He reads books, studies communication, dresses better, goes on dates. But inside, he still believes he's not lovable. He still fears abandonment. He still doubts his value. So every action he takes, though technically correct, is fueled by lack, by fear, by an unconscious need to earn love rather than receive it. And so the outcome evades him. It's not the action that creates, Hermstring writes. It's the frequency beneath the action. This is why some people seem to attract opportunities effortlessly, not because they're lucky, not because they're better, but because their internal and external selves are synchronized. There's no contradiction between who they are and what they're doing, so the universe, which responds to coherence, rushes to meet them. Others, despite endless effort, experience resistance, delay, confusion. It's not punishment, it's misalignment. To shift this, Hermstring suggests a simple but radical question. Who would I have to become for this to be natural? Not, what else should I do? Not, how do I force this result? But, who must I be for this to feel inevitable? This question changes everything. It shifts your focus from performance to embodiment, from force to flow, from manipulation to magnetism. When you start acting from alignment, your energy changes. You stop chasing and start attracting. You stop proving and start receiving. You stop doubting and start trusting. It doesn't mean you stop working. It means your work becomes sacred, intentional, potent. Hermstring shares a passage that captures this beautifully. True power is silent. It doesn't scream through endless activity. It whispers through alignment. So what does this look like in practice? Before you launch the product, ask, is this coming from inspiration or desperation? Before you send the message, ask, am I reaching out from lack or connection? Before you grind another hour, ask, am I acting from fear or from purpose? The answers will reveal whether your action is aligned or just noise. And when you get aligned, truly aligned, you won't need to force outcomes anymore. Your frequency will do the heavy lifting. Your inner world will become the engine of your external reality. And your actions, no longer chaotic, will become clear, powerful, and deeply effective. Because in the universe, Hermstring describes, alignment is the amplifier. It's the difference between pushing a boulder uphill and opening a door with a key that fits. So yes, act, execute, show up. But do it from a place of wholeness, because the universe doesn't reward effort. It responds to coherence. And when you act from alignment, everything begins to respond.